Good afternoon and welcome to Metra AV Tech Tips. I'm Brent.
I'm Adam.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
So Adam, what'd you have for breakfast?
Cereal.
What's today's topic?
Cereal.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty straightforward, right? I mean, you know, but it's just.
And normally that's your line. I had to steal it from you
I was
today.
going to say, yeah.
I'm just that kind of schmuck.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So, okay, yeah. So today's topic, of course, actually, before we get on today's topic, thank you everybody for showing up today for today's episode. We really appreciate it as always. If you have any questions for whatever it is that we're talking about today, please leave it over in the chat section while we're talking, and or down in the comment section if you're viewing this after the fact. We do monitor that as well. We'd love to hear from you about what you're running into and any other questions that you may have.
But wait, why are they leaving comments?
So the important reason why you're leaving a comment is so that you can try and win something free. We are still giving away the 15-meter EHV-HDG-015. I memorized it. That's the 15-meter, or sorry, 15-meter?
15-meter.
15-meter, 48 gig VLOX AOC HDMI. So,
And just
of course,
for those of us who don't speak meters,
yes,
how long is that?
15 times 3, so it's 45?
47.
47, give or take. Rule of thumb, multiply by 3. Okay, so what are we talking about today, Brent? We are talking about today...
Don't forget to like us, share us, subscribe, hit the little bell to go ding when we have something new, and tell all of your friends and neighbors.
Which, of course, we go live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. and now every Friday at 3 p.m.
And what's this week's topic?
This Friday we are talking about...
Wow.
Yep, you put me on the spot, and I'm completely stopped. I don't think we picked out a product yet to talk about this Friday, but today we are talking about RS-232. So whatever this topic is, whatever the topic is this Friday, will have something to do with that in some fashion, in some way. So we'll get to that point.
Okay, I'm looking forward to how you tie that together.
Yes. Now, before we go too far, we did a little bit of housekeeping already with the giveaway and everything else. But Brent, you took a call this week about a Sony on Sony.
Yes, I did. Wow, that sounds like a porn title.
Well,
Sony on Sony.
Sony on Sony.
It was a Sony A9G.
Yep.
OLED panel.
Yep.
And a Sony AVR that they were using the CEC controls using the Sony remotes.
Yes.
No control system, just straight up Sony remotes. And what they found was when they turned the TV on, it would turn the AVR on as part of the CEC. But the AVR would turn on so fast that it may not recognize the incoming CEC from the display, so they would actually have to power cycle the AVR a couple of times to get it to sync up properly.
Got it.
What I had him do was use our AIO2 because we can control hot plug with that.
Yes.
But I also had him put a timered relay on it because on the back of his Sony AVR was a 12-volt trigger for screens or whatever. Now you can't take that 12 volts directly into the AIO because it creates its own voltage and current.
Correct.
But you could put it on a relay that would trigger the AIO.
Now, we just had an episode on relays.
Yes, we did.
How they operate and whatever it is. Now, when you say a timed relay or a timer relay...
So the difference between a timed relay and a standard relay, a timed relay typically sits on a circuit board with either a rotary controller or dip switches or bridge jumpers to determine the delay between the point of trigger and the point of closing the relay to take your additional step.
Yeah.
So in this one, it was anything from 0.13 seconds up to 6.5 seconds.
Yeah.
And my guess is he's probably going to be at about a half a second because the TV's got to turn on, power up, and get all the electronics going.
Yes.
Before it actually starts the communication.
Yep.
So with the variable timing, he can match it exactly to the minimum he can get away with, but have it work every time.
Right.
And the timered relay was like $3 online.
Oh, well, see, I mean, it might as well at that point, right?
Fixes
problems.
Right, he just comes out of the 12-volt output on the AVR, which when the AVR turns on, it sends voltage. So the AVR is still getting turned on by the television.
Yep.
No problem. But the hot plug is not triggering until the television has a chance to get up and going.
Which at that point, so we've got a relay on a relay on a relay then basically is to
kind of sort of
run it all the way through, right? So
kind of sort of
neat. All right, well, that's kind of, I haven't really had any super interesting calls or anything like that to go over, so that was kind of the one that I wanted to talk about, was what you had run into. So I guess with that, Brent, shall we go ahead and
Let's get into cereal.
get into cereal?
Now,
Favorite cereal?
Corn Chex.
Corn Chex.
Corn Chex, followed by Rice Chex.
I want to know your favorite cereal. Go ahead and put it over in the chat section. If you're watching this, let me know. Do you like Trix? Do you like?
And I'm not big on the sugared ones.
So a good bran is good for you.
Well, a close follow-up, honestly, was Raisin Bran. I love Raisin Bran.
Okay.
You know, a little sweet on the flakes, the raisins, and
I'll give you that.
And very, 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 very cold, very fresh milk.
Yes.
You know, I'm that guy that I dig all the way back to the back end of the milk bin for the one that's furthest away.
Yep.
Because in my mind,
if
it's within 10 days shy of the expiration date,
it's at the front.
I can taste it.
I
can. It's like,
it's starting. It's already
to turn.
it's already starting to turn.
It's starting to turn. Want nothing to do with it.
So mine's Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
And see, that to me is a new cereal.
Well, yeah. See,
because
exactly.
I'm legacy fella.
Yeah.
Oh wait, what's today's article or today's episode?
Legacy stuff. RS-232, which is now to be and actually, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So, guys, of course, what we are talking about today. Okay, we've already got Sound Concepts saying Honey Nut Cheerios, and Lawrence Hey, Lawrence, thank you for joining the chat, and Sound Concepts, thank you for joining the chat as well. They're saying Captain Crunch. Now, classic Captain
with
Crunch
Berries,
or the one with Crunch Berries, because the one with Crunch Berries, honestly, is probably one of the better ones that I've had in quite a while. Moving on. So, now that we've talked about food, and I'm, skip lunch today.
There's a lot that goes on prior to our show starting, and today was the fact that neither of us has been overly effective in our personal dietary regimes of late.
Yep.
I went to South Florida and ate all weekend, and
I need to cut back on sugar and carbs. So of course, what is cereal? It's sugar and carbs. There you go.
So
Randall says
2 babies.
Randall says his favorite cereal, spelled SERIAL, is 8-in-1 9600.
Ooh, very slow cereal. And we're going to talk about that 8-1-bit.
8-1-bit. Okay.
Is that what that
means?
Then? Yes, because that is all about what cereal is.
Because today I'm going to rely on you a lot, because even though cereal is still used today a lot, it is definitely considered something of a legacy
fella environment.
Yes, exactly. So, which is why I wanted to bring it out and talk with everybody about it.
Well, let's start with, what is cereal? Really, what is it?
What is cereal? Cereal is ones and zeros.
Yes. What else is ones and zeros?
Pretty much all data in general. But what we know the most of course, is HDMI.
And it operates pretty much the same way, just at a much lower. He said 9600.
Yep.
Now, 9600 in our world now is considered slow.
Yeah.
20 years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
If you were a Crestron programmer, 9600 was your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you to step away and give me an overhead.
Okay.
Because we're going to go over some stuff.
Oh, boy.
First thing we're going to see is serial terminal, just in case.
Button right there.
Somebody may not know. That's a serial terminal, DB9. By the way, before we get into it deeper, how many versions of serial terminals are in use primarily?
You've done the research on this one more than I have, so I think you know the answer to it, but I'm going to guess primarily 4.
And your number's primarily correct.
Oh, nice. I got that right then.
The standard typically is DB9, which is a 9-pin serial connector.
Yep.
This one. There are some DB25s.
Okay.
For example, Vantage Q modules. Still, the Q ended with the DB25 on it, started and ended there. When they went to Infusion, it went to USB or network.
So does the number literally just mean the number of pins
it
has? So a DB25 is like those old printer ones on the back of computers.
In fact, that is how it started.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at serial communications, there's DB9, DB25, very, very rarely used. A stereo mini plug.
Yep.
Which has 3 connectors on it.
Yep.
And it's also, you're going to see some RJs, some phone jacks. Different companies will do phone jacks.
Yeah.
So it is not uncommon to see, particularly for the URC programmers, this plug connected to an adapter like this.
You want to get the top down?
Yeah.
There you go.
So you'll have the DB, and there's certainly many of us through the years who've cut these up
and
put them on terminals. You used category cable.
And actually, I think we used to sell, I'm looking on our stash of old product that we have. Is this the one? Nope, that's not it.
Now,
anyways, we used to have a 3.5 that was a breakout.
We did.
Yeah.
And we had a couple of them floating around.
Yeah.
Before we get into the pins, let's talk about what the structure is. Now, he talked about 9600.
Yes.
Now, serial is interesting because serial is an 8-bit code, but it's a 7-bit signal.
Okay.
So what you have is you have a start bit, which is 0, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a stop bit.
Stop.
So there's actually 7 locations for data. And then the stop bit is the 8th. The start bit is not part of the code. It just says, here's where we're starting. It's an initiation, a hello.
It's like a 5 volt. I was going to say, it's like a 5 volt trigger.
Yep.
or
And then you get into the data, ones or zeros.
Okay.
And there have been a few voltages through the years, low and high. But when you look at RS-232s, it's essentially you're operating at 5 volts or less.
Yep.
Just like you do with HDMI. EDID. In fact, EDID is simply serial data on an HDMI cable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, serial data typically comes as a 3-wire system. So you've got RX, TX, and ground. That's it. Send, receive, TX, RX, and ground. Now, you've got your data bits here to determine what data you're signaling. Now, this is not, we're not sending video, we're not sending complex signals. We're basically sending, it can either be ASCII or binary or simple language, simple text that you're sending, and that's what this is giving. And the stop bit. So now, what he said earlier was 8, 1, and 9600.
Okay.
The 1 is simply the stop bit. Now, a lot of times the stop bit's just automatic.
It's just built into whatever
right
controller you're using.
Right, and the carriage return is also sometimes automatic, sometimes not. The 9600 is how fast that data is traveling, and the 8 is the length of the word. And 8 has been the standard. There are other options under 422, 425, and I mean there's other, but the RS-232 is pretty much always 8.
Yeah.
And then the 1, which is your stop bit, and you've got handshake, no handshake. And then there was also, in the early days, the old Crestron programmers will remember this, RTS and CTS. So there could be up to 5 pins gone out.
Yes.
Typically what you had was on a 9-pin, 2, 3, and 5.
And those are the actual pin outs for it.
In the terminal was 2, 3, and 5. Our producer just showed us something. What is he showing us?
Is it?
My internet or?
Are we stopped?
We've got an excellent connection here on
Okay,
this one.
so we're going to keep going.
Okay.
So when you're looking at simple serial connections, the first thing you want to do is look at your devices to see what they have in commonality. We're not going to worry about the infrastructure yet. We're going to worry about commonality between the devices. It doesn't matter if it's a stereo mini, 9-pin, 25-pin. What you have to look at are the numbers, and mostly it's going to be the baud rate. The baud rate, plain and simply, is how fast the data can move between them. Now, he mentioned 9600. Now, this one goes back a ways. The more common baud rate now is going to be 115.9, I think, or I think it's 115.9 or 115.7.
You're asking the wrong person.
I'm asking, so am I with me. It's been so darn long.
You told me to figure out an IP address? I got you.
Well, and when you look at this, you can also have product addresses. Former, guys that did Sony's for years.
Yeah.
You could have a header that was an address header in the serial for Sony devices.
Yep.
So you could have a stack of Sony TVs that were all serial controlled.
Each one had its own address.
Each one had its own header.
Yeah.
Now, so when we're looking at 2, 3, and 5 on the DB9, all the rest of them are effectively for us blank. So when you cut open a serial cable now, in most cases it's only 3 conductors. And we're back to, as we mentioned earlier, it's not uncommon for those of us that do this a lot to cut open a headphone cable and, oh, would you give me the front shot again?
Got it.
Cut open a headphone cable and try to either solder it in or use the Phoenix plug screw downs.
Yep. Randall's saying it's 115.200.
Okay. Thank you, Randall. So a 7 kind of looks like a 2.
Yeah, yeah, sure. There you go.
Now, Randall, since you're out there looking, is that the fastest we're going to run into in serial? It was for the last time I did it. As a Crestron
That's a
guy.
really good question. I don't know.
I
the answer to that
honestly don't
one.
know because I haven't had to go beyond that.
Well, now, like you were saying with HDMI, with EDID, one of the things that of the downsides of RS-232 or serial connections is the distance that you can run with it.
Yes.
Because it's running on such a small voltage or a low voltage,
it drops.
It drops quite a bit, or you can't go nearly as far, and because it's looking for a specific voltage
Which is
threshold.
why it's not used for your traditional building automation interface was 422
Right.
for HVAC.
Right.
Higher voltage, lower quality wire, but could go further.
Yeah. The heck? Am I nope, there we go. And actually that's one of the things that we learned because of HDMI. And especially with a lot of EDID problems that we run into over distance, of course. We see things like a buildup of capacitance on the EDID channel. We see a lot of just losing EDID information over that.
What is our first EDID repair tool?
The DAD was
Yes,
the DAD the first one?
The DAD.
Yeah.
And what does the DAD do?
It strips capacitance.
Where do you think we got that technology from?
From
Yes, we did.
RS-232?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So we've gone over the basic structures of what RS-232 looks like, and you've started to get into the programming structure of it for the different the 8 bits and the baud rate. Now you mentioned a couple things already that for the uninitiated may not fully understand. So the first thing you said was word.
Right.
Now the word is basically
The
just
bird is the word.
The
Papa,
bird is the
Mau,
word.
Mau.
Okay, good to know.
Only the legacy guys will get that one.
I got that one anyways, but I got that one because I watched Family Guy. But anyways, so when you moving on.
That just did it, didn't it?
It did, because now I'm imagining Peter Griffin.
Papa, 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 Mau, Mau.
When you talk about the word, what you're
Yes.
specifically talking about is this portion here.
Right, not the text that's in that you're putting on the line.
Right.
Because here's the thing, it could be ASCII, it could be binary code, it could be simple English.
Yeah.
And as long as what is being sent matches what it's expecting to receive.
Yep.
For example, on our matrices,
Yep.
our matrix, the IP code and the serial code
It's the same.
are identical.
Yeah, the telnet commands and the RS-232 commands are the same.
Well, actually, RS-232 is Telnet.
Yeah,
It's
basically.
early Telnet.
Yeah, basically at that point.
Well, it is.
Yeah. So when you deal with that, you said the word. So the word is the actual bit
The
of
word
or,
is
or
what
byte of
creates
information.
whatever text you're sending.
Right. So if you are sending hi, HI, just HI, you're actually sending 2 of these together because you're sending a code for H and a code for I.
And probably 3 because you may have a space between it, and then you also may have a carriage return.
Right.
That may be automatic or not.
Now the carriage return is usually just letting the device know that you're
That's
finishing
the end of the command.
Of the command. Now you're not finished, so you don't have a carriage return on the end of every note that's sent across.
No,
just
only
at the end of the command.
command.
Got it.
So let's say my command is, I don't remember the command structure on this. Do you?
Yeah, it's get or set and then whatever.
Okay,
structure.
so here's what I want you to do. I want you to write out, send zone 1 to source 1.
Ooh,
Source
man.
1 to zone 1.
Let's do this. So we've got I'm going to do a blue so we can do a different color. So that's going to be.
You want to switch to an overhead?
Yep. Oh, you don't want to watch me draw? I mean, I'm kidding. There we go. So it would be get, and then, or no, pardon me, it'd be set. Man, you're making me think of this one. Set.
It's zone and source, or is it source and zone?
It's zone. So out 1 to be in 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
something like that.
You can type that in in plain English.
Yes.
Because that's the way we wrote our code.
Yes.
Or you could send it as ASCII or binary, which means you actually have to write all this out.
Yes.
It's better to do this, and then this is converted into this.
Yes.
Now, the carriage return does not come till here.
And so it's all the way down here at the very end, right there.
Correct.
And it's just it's just a stop sign. It's just saying, hey guys, we're done, talking to
Right.
it. We're
And
we're
typically
good to go.
it's /R. Mm-hmm. It could be CR.
Yeah, carriage return.
It could depends on
Whatever it is.
the devices.
Yeah. Now that's designed at the point of manufacturing, correct?
Yes, it is.
It's not that it's a universal command. That's why you said it's either maybe /R or CR, or it could be stop or something
Right.
like that.
Anybody that's done, for example, Onkyo Integra serial commands,
Mm-hmm.
it's machine code, so it's just lots of and it's not simple English. It's 10001000Z blah blah blah, and it doesn't make a damn bit of sense.
When you look at it, no,
Right.
but it's just that whatever string that is correlates to a specific action that the device takes.
When it sees that exact string, it does this.
So when it's written out like this, so set out 1 in 4, it's not parsing the information for out or for. It just sees this entire string as one command.
Typically, yes.
Okay, that's good information for that. Brent, we jumped ahead. I have a question.
How far
for
ahead
you.
did we jump?
Decently far. So, I have a question for you.
Okay.
History of
Okay,
RS-232.
now you're really going to put me on the spot.
I am going to put you on the spot.
You're a jerk.
Well, you put me on the spot, so now it's your turn. Let's see. Randall says both ends need to follow the same protocol definition determined
Yes.
of DTE or DCE. You're jumping ahead, Randall. If both devices are DTE, use a null modem cable. Now that the COM pipe
Hey,
is
well, damn
established,
it,
agree on a command set. He's
had it
jumped ahead
broken.
on all of us, right?
And I was going to do my best to fool you with the null modem cable, too.
All right.
Thanks,
So,
Randall.
yes. When was RS-232 developed?
Early 60s?
It was developed in 1960. Yes. By who? Do you know who?
Oh, I have
I
no
got you, right?
clue.
It was developed by
Let me guess. Auto Serial.
No. It was developed by the Electronic Industries Association in 1960. Now,
It's the DTE standard.
no.
Device Terminal Interface. Or
Nope. It's the EIA standard. Do you know what RS-232 stands for? What that means?
I'm going to have to assume it's something standard model or version 232.
So you're really close. So a lot of people would say that, RS-232 just means reliable serial or something like that, right?
Really?
No,
Then
it's
they
not.
haven't spent any
happens.
time with it.
It happens, right? So yeah, right. Yeah, reliable. No. So the RS in RS-232 stands for recommended standard.
Okay.
And then 232 just means
The number of-
It's the
and they're-
article number of
Right.
232. So when you look at you can take, for instance, the law in your local area. You could say it's statute code
yeah.
or whatever whatever it is. That's what it is.
So this was the EIA recommended standard for machine interface
For serial connection, for serial communication.
paper 232.
Yes. So when you look at RS-232, RS-232 is just the standard that they're saying to use, and whereas the actual stuff that's being transferred across it
It's determined by the hardware.
is determined by the hardware. It's the serial communication. By the way, they do go into effect, or they do go into describing the type of information that's supposed to be passed across it, and good on them, they said, we don't care.
Right. It's an open standard.
It's an open standard.
As long as the characters, whether it's English, Mandarin, French, doesn't matter, or
Yep.
ones and zeros.
Yep. Let me wipe this off real quick, because I'm going to draw something next.
Ooh.
So Randall jumped ahead, and Randall, we're really not upset with you. It's very helpful for you to have this communication in there. We really appreciate it.
Ask Randall what devices. Randall, what devices are you using that still use a null modem?
Oh, good question.
Sony used to.
Sony does still. No, pardon me. They used to. They were probably the latest one to use a null modem connection on it.
What is the difference between a modem, between a regular cable and a null modem cable?
So you.
And I want you to draw it out for me.
halfway through.
I
Okay.
want you to
I
draw
can
it
do
out
that.
for me.
No, I'm not going to write down which pins and whatnot happen.
No,
with it. You
no,
got
it's
that
2,
there?
3, and 5. So
Okay.
I want you to draw out the difference between a modem,
Now,
a standard
5
cable, and a null modem cable.
5 is the ground.
Yes, it
correct?
is.
Yeah. So you've got the.
Okay, that's going to be. You could have just put down 2, 3, and 5, but okay.
Let's see if I got
Oh,
that
that's
right.
too many.
Too many? That's 9. 4 and 5,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And then so it's 2, 3, and 5.
Yes.
Right? So what this is here, you've got TX, RX, and ground. See if I can do the Look at that. Huh?
Okay,
Right?
look at
Right?
you, look at you.
They're looking at me draw it instead of me actually doing top down. There we go. So what they will do then, of course, is they'll go across. So there's our ground there. Go over here. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so then we've got 2.
Now, you doing regular or
and 5
no first?
I'm going to do regular first because this
Okay.
is regular is just straight across, right?
No,
No?
no. 2 to 3, 3 to 2. That's regular.
Ah.
2 to 2, 3 to 3 is null.
So this is a null.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
Okay. So RX reaches over here to RX over here, but it's not really RX over here at this point because now it's TX on this side.
No. 2, 3, and 5 is always RX, TX, and ground. The numbers don't change.
Okay.
What changes is what pins are connected to what pins. In a standard cable, 2 goes to 3, 3 goes to 2, 5's always to 5. So
Five's-
that crisscross.
Yeah,
Because 5's ground.
you wind up with a crisscross.
Yes.
There's that. Okay.
Null modem is 2 to 2, 3 to 3.
Now, what I'm also used to seeing or actually one of the things that Randall was talking about was a DTE or a DCE device. Now, that is actually kind of interesting. So the way that works out, DCE, or probably I'm going to start with DTE. So a DTE, and actually stands for Data Terminal Equipment.
Which should be any device with a serial connection on it or parallel connection.
Well, it should be anything that's the primary controller. So you have a computer, that's usually the primary controller. You have Control4 or Crestron or whatever else, their controller device is the primary controller. It's the thing that's actually sending the commands. Then, of course, you've got a DCE, and that's the data communications device. Now, the data communications device, back in the days of when this was being used, not so much for control, but primarily for communication purposes, this would have been like a modem. And so what you would see, of course, is the DTE, that would be like the primary communications piece. Now, if you have a DTE device on one side and you also have a DTE device on the other side, that's when you use a null modem cable. Otherwise, if it's a DTE going to a DCE,
You swap.
you do a straight cable. And so if you do a DTE to a DTE, you do a null modem because, of course, you have to then swap it and talk to it that way. That way they can both transmit and receive. Then the DCE, if you have a DCE instead, it's just a straight cable all the way through. Now, Brent, how many pins do you need?
Well, in the early days, you could use up to 15 of the 25. And the late 90s, sometimes 5 with RTS and CTS, really since about 2003.
Yeah.
RX, TX, and ground.
Yeah.
I haven't come across any device that required more than 3 cables since 2000.
Not anymore, really, right? It's kind of, and now you can go down to even less than that. So if you have a device that doesn't need to communicate back, you can do just a
2 cable.
2 cable.
And for the Crestron guys, and Control4 may do this also, I
Sure.
honestly don't know. If you run out of serial ports, you can take a standard IR port, strip IR, and treat it as a one-directional
yeah.
simplex
Yeah.
serial port.
Now, Control4 does have, on their new EA series controllers, the EA3 and EA5, they have, like, however many ports you can switch between IR or RS-232, but it is two-way. It becomes, they just turn off.
Well, now RTI,
one
in
of
the
that.
early RTIs, and you probably never did one of these, but the very first gen RTI had a silver blue controller.
Yeah.
There was stereo mini plugs on all of the IR jacks, and you actually had to put a little rubber grommet on the IR
interesting.
emitter cable so it would not go in and hit that tip pin.
Oh, that's interesting.
And if you lost the little ground, you just lost the little grommets.
You're kind of screwed at that
You're
point, right?
screwed.
Yeah, that's kind of annoying.
So all ports were serial or IR, and it was two-way serial.
yeah.
That turned out to be a bad idea.
Yeah, luckily in manufacturing and now that we're
I think that
here...
was called the RP, something MX6 or some. They're very original, big silver blue box.
I'm really glad that when I started working here, one of the things that Stuart and you kind of instilled in me is it needs to be easy.
Simple.
It's simple. And if it's something that you have to have extra little teeny tiny pieces that if you change something later on and you lose that thing, you're kind of SOL.
Yep.
You shouldn't do it that way.
Well, look at our serial commands.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not using machine code for a reason.
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
Nope, exactly.
And I got to be honest with you, it's a whole lot easier to say get or set.
Yes.
Then remember 0110101110 Zulu 0110. What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when I program Crestron for Onkyo or Integra,
yeah.
you spend a whole lot of time double checking your code lines.
So I have one thing before we jump to the next topic.
Okay.
Everyone who's watching the show, again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Like, share, subscribe, send it. Hit that little bell notification, let you know.
Send food.
Yeah. Well, no more food for me.
Send food.
If you would please let me know. I'm going to put this out there because I believe next week. I haven't come up with a schedule yet for next week and a little bit after that. But I think what we're going to talk about.
Are you begging for topics?
I'm begging for topics, but I'm begging for content. Here's what I want to talk about next week. I want to talk about Blu-ray players, DVD players, CD players, and VCRs.
You're mocking me now, aren't you?
I am. Listen. I need to bring some kind of source device into this that you're familiar with. So I have to.
8-track, 4-track,
reel-to-reel? Betamax. We're bringing Betamax in, okay? We're
bringing Beta back?
Yeah, we're bringing Beta back. Let me know over in either
HD DVD
down in the comment section or over in the chat section your favorite Blu-ray player, DVD player, VHS player, or sorry, VCR.
What about VCD?
VCD. Yep, VCD is a real thing. Let me know over in the comment section or the chat section over here, or down in the comment section down below, what your favorite device is and why.
Ooh, I want to know who can tell me what an L cassette is without looking it up on Google.
An L cassette?
L cassette.
Like L, the letter
L? No, it's EL.
EL.
Cassette.
L cassette. It's not the cassette.
It's just
in
L. No,
Spanish?
it's L cassette.
Okay, got it.
I want to know who can come up with that without looking it up on Google.
We have. Okay. We have an international viewer, Brent.
Oh boy.
We do. Mitchell, I believe. Mitchell. I'm gonna butcher your last name.
Wait a minute. Show it to me.
Can you read it?
Buono?
Buono?
I know.
Buono?
Buono?
Let us know who pronounced it right. We're not even going to try. Anyways, he's saying he's watching us from Paris and he can send macaroons over. Real Paris macaroons, real French macaroons would be amazing. I would not turn you down for that, and I would go off diet for that. I would try it out for sure.
Please?
We really appreciate that. We've got Mike Noonan in the chat. Mike, always good to see you, sir.
Mr. Noonan?
They had a Crestron processor recently that needed 5 wires. It was an older processor that tied in with a newer processor.
Okay, so when you look at the RTS and CTS,
yes,
that is also a clear signal that's built in to let it's not just stop, but next question, who is still doing checksumming?
Well, most everything.
Manually, are you setting up
manually
checksums?
Manually
setting up
checksums.
checksums.
Yeah, that's different. Manually checksums.
Right.
Most systems do it automatically now through programming, or it's just already built into it.
In the early days, we would actually build in checksum math.
So, what is? I guess we didn't really talk about this. What is RTS and CTS? So we know what TX, RX, and ground is because one transmits, one receives, and one what ground is.
I'm gonna look at my cheat sheet.
Yeah. I was gonna say you have some notes in there, right?
I honestly don't remember.
Some of it, I know we're dealing with the engineers.
RTS and CTS, and it's request to send and clear to send.
So that's basically just
can I send you some data?
Yes, you can.
Okay, now I may send it.
And that's helpful when you have a network of RS-232 systems because it requests to send it, and if it says, "Oh wait, I can't get anything,"
hot plug.
Hot plug. Yes, very much so. It's
amazing how much our world today is still this world from yesterday.
So much of what we've dealt with in the past, you really have to understand the equipment of the past and the engineering of the past to understand, one, how the stuff today works, and also why it's that way. Why do we use RS-232?
I'm going to take it a step further because this is X on, X off is not something we use a lot anymore.
No.
However, that's the original handshaking.
Okay.
So that is all part of HDMI, but we don't break it out as separate.
Right.
But it's still, X on, X off is still part of the HDMI on the EDID chain.
Okay.
So all the stuff that we're doing here, every bit of this directly relates to our day-to-day life in tech support for
Yes, it does.
for HDMI.
Yeah.
Now, we operate at higher speeds, although EDID is not that much, you're at 115 typically on EDID.
We asked this question a year ago of Mr. Jeff Boccaccio over at DPL Labs. And actually, I believe we were live on air that time as well when we asked the question. And
How
luckily,
fast?
how fast was the EDID baud rate? And I do not remember what that was.
I think it's 115.
Is it 115?
Which is a fairly, it's an industry standard for...
Well, it's fast enough for the type of information it needs to talk.
We're not sending content.
Yeah.
And you can. In the early days, if you had like, do you know what a request is? An audio request?
No, but okay.
Okay, long before there were iPods and all these fancy, little tiny media servers, there was the audio request. It was a rack, sized unit.
Oh, it was an actual device.
Right.
Okay.
You put all you burn your CDs to it, and it would go to the CD database online and pull down album art.
Yep.
And it actually sent this album art and metadata via 232.
Yes.
To your control system.
Yes, because it was
that's
doing
how
like
you got
thumbnails.
it out to your touch panels.
It was doing like thumbnails for
it was doing the full thing, just like you see on your CarPlay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you would see the album name, the artist, and maybe the album cover pop up. Mm-hmm. But it was static information. But the only thing that would scroll would be the song title because it was too long.
Well, and that's built into the display rather than built into the RS-232 command, correct?
Well, right. The command sends it over, then your control system parses it out for the panel you selected.
Yes. Yeah. So, cool. All right. Brent, we talked about...
You're not going to send live video.
Yeah, no.
Over
Well, it's
232.
like Zigbee, Zigbee and Z-Wave. You're not going to be sending video or audio across the Zigbee or Z-Wave connection.
Just commands.
Just commands.
Simple commands.
Yeah. Okay. So, Brent, we talked about what is RS-232. It's serial. It's the standard for using serial, kind of, because it's not even really that. It's just a standard for the type of connection that it is.
It's an open format.
Yes, exactly. Because serial, all RS-232 is serial, but not all serial is RS-232.
Correct.
Right?
All weefers are waffers, but not all waffers are weefers.
Sure.
It was part of an intelligence test back in the 60s.
Okay.
However, there's also parallel data, which it's kind of what a null modem is, but...
Oh, interesting. Randall is saying if the DCE does not support RTS or CTS, it is safe in modern equipment to tie RTS back to CTS so that the DTE sends data immediately. Neat. That's really interesting. So if it doesn't...
How are you tying that back? Is it that done?
It's just looped over. Is
it
just
physical loop or is it done in the software?
That's a really good question. Randall, let us know. That would be really neat.
Are you just soldering a loop on there, or how are you handling that?
That would be kind of. You just make it's like
a jumper.
Yeah, it's just a jumper basically at that point. That would make sense because all it's doing is just open close or 5-volt or something. Hot plug. Yeah, and all it's doing is just basically sending 5-volt to say can I, and it's looking for the 5-volt back to say yes. So if you just loop it at that point, then it just says yes. As it's asking the question.
And the real question
yes.
is, can you just do that right at the transmit side and be done with it?
That's what he's saying. Yeah, that you just do it right there at the transmit side. Okay, so let's jump ahead a little bit. We talked about what it is and how it does it. So let's talk about how do you fix it? How do we troubleshoot it? So we've already
I want to know your opinions on this.
So the first thing that I would do is look at the manual.
The very first thing, honestly, the very first thing you do is you do have to look at the manual because you have to look at the biggest failure it's going to be in speed.
Yep.
It's going to be in flow. Is it X on, X off or not?
Yep.
Is it going to be stop bits? Where the stop bits?
Or is it like the Sony 777s where it needed a null modem or they were both DTEs, right? So,
that was the one that drove everybody frickin' nuts.
It was, because it drove me nuts, personally. I ran into that myself. Actually, Mike, you might remember...
There's history with these two.
Yeah, there was it was Beachside. He had an NEC monitor that was kind of in like this built-in...
Was that a 27 or a 32 NEC?
Oh no! It was
Flat panel?
It was a flat panel.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a flat panel. But it was over on Beachside. What do you want, Google? Get out of here. Over on Beachside, he had all the equipment inside of a closet, and then everything went up above, and then over to the TV. I think his name was Dan. I think that's what his first name was. But anyways, that had a 777. They brought me in to redo that job because he wanted to upgrade, and he had a 777 in there, and he loved it because through the old Control 4 system that he had in there, he was able to get all of the
Do you have the
cover
Control
art and
4? Do you
everything
have that? What the hell was the name of the? It was like a Kaleidoscope, but it was for the 777s.
No, it was definitely Control 4.
Okay.
It was just an older Control 4. It was an HC series, like one of the
Like a
early.
300?
Well, it was like a 200, or yeah, it probably was a 300. Anyways, but we did upgraded him to the new EA series at the time, and I'm not a serial guy. I'm not.
I've never run into a null modem.
I've never run into a null pro. So I was like, oh, cool. Let me just go ahead and plug everything in and. And it did things. It started, spinning around, and it started, doing whatever things else. But it was weird commands. It was like, let me send the next CD command, and it would eject, or let me go ahead and do this, and it would do something else. And it's like, well, that's not what I did. That's not what I sent. So, that was the actual thing that messed me up the most was that 777, and I will always, have that near and dear to my heart because. They were actually really nice players.
Well, when you looked at products like that, they were meant so you could do a stack of them and do a serial and address the serial commands.
Well, and some of them also acted as controllers.
Right.
They would control other devices, and that's kind of what you're saying, where they would stack, and so you could have one be like the master
and
unit,
then slaves.
and then the other ones would listen to it. So yeah, really cool stuff with that. Now, so that's what I would do. I would start with the manual and find out.
Yeah, because your speed.
Yeah.
When we had wrote out here, is it 96? Is it 37? Is it 115?
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to go in too fast, it doesn't know what the hell you're saying.
Or if it's going too slow. If you have Yep. Exactly.
It's got to communicate at the right speed.
Yeah.
With serial, as long as the connections are solid and the protocols are set correctly, X on, X off, stop bit, and your speed, you're pretty much there.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you, what advantages does serial have over IP or vice versa?
All right. So.
Because I'm putting you on the spot on this one. Because we did not discuss this before
No, we
the
did not.
broadcast
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
no, not at all. So, I would have to say, comparing just the two of them,
Yeah.
pros on the RS-232 side would be that it's a straight connection. I don't have to have any other infrastructure in place. I can just take it from one device to another, and so long as I know what the command structure is and the baud rate and everything else, it works. I just have to send a command straight to that. The other benefits, of course, are that, again, it's usually just one device to the next, and so the security of that is much greater than what a network could be, or if you don't have anything locked down. But then, of course, on the con side, for me anyways, would be the simple fact that if I already have a network in place and the device that I'm trying to control is already connected to the network anyways, I might as well connect it or control it over the network to begin with. Plus, I can do larger command structures,
Greater distances,
Wi-Fi, wirelessly communicate with it, which there is RS-232 wireless systems that are out there that you can, but
Yeah,
they're not that great.
I've had in
Not Wolfec. Not Wolfec. Shoot, I'm trying to remember who it is, but Wolfec we did redo his as well.
we used to have a real problem with Jandy killing RS-232 ports.
Mike, he was further north of the Ocean's Towers. He was at like that Viking, the place just before the Viking Hotel. I don't know if that helps any. Anyways, sorry.
With Jandy.
Yeah.
Because they would take spikes and just burn out 232 cards. I wound up using a Bluetooth 232.
Okay, interesting.
And I wasn't going long distances, but that was to separate the physical contact.
Yep.
Between the devices, and man, did it solve a lot of problems.
It's a ground, right? You've got a grounding. You've got a grounded connection.
Well,
in there.
so if you take a spike, it's going right down the line.
Yeah.
Same thing we see in HDMI.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
If serial is an option,
Yep.
I prefer serial to IP.
Okay.
For a lot of the reasons you picked. First off, it's a direct connect, and
Yes.
distance is important.
Yes.
But secondly, I don't have to say, are you awake? And I don't have to worry about network addresses changing. And we've both been on jobs where addresses for no known reason
Yep.
suddenly changed.
I've got it set static. I have it set to. I remember he was crazy. He was a little crazy. He was quiet, but he was that kind of
Scary quiet?
yeah, crazy quiet kind of a thing. He had the Control 4 Home Edition to where he could input his own media into the 777. I'm not remembering his name, and I'm not going to say it live on air either. But anyways, so
I like the fact that because it's a direct connect and it's not part of a network, as long as the card's healthy, it's going to work.
yeah, yeah.
There's no addresses changing. There's no weirdness, and I would love to say that IP is 100%, but it's not.
It's not. No, as flexible as IP is, that's honestly its downside, is that it is so flexible and can do so many things that it's not.
Sometimes it just does things on its own.
Yeah, it's you have the problem of the all-in-one printer. It's the printer, scanner, fax machine, but it doesn't do all of those really well. It does them okay, and so you get RS-232.
And you still wind up buying a printer, a scanner,
and a fax machine. Yeah, exactly. So, well, not for me, not
Maybe
so
not
much
a fax
anymore.
machine.
But yeah. So, what else do we do to troubleshoot? I mean, is there anything else that we can do?
If you know the voltage values,
Yeah.
you can break out the volt meter. I used to keep, there's an RS-232 port with Phoenix plugs on the back, jacks, so I can make my own custom length cables.
Yep.
And that allowed you to actually check the data leaving the device to make sure that your source or your receiving unit were actually getting the data.
Brandon, top right of that Husky tray right there. Nope, to your left, right there. Top right, and there's a pull-out thing. There's a 3.5 headphone jack with a breakout. Yeah.
This is a great one right here.
So this is, go here to the top-down shot. This is a nice little piece because it's a 3.5 stereo headphone jack, which can be used for anything that has 3.5 on it. You could use it for audio if you wanted to. But it also has the 3 breakout points.
Do we have
on
one of
back
the
it.
Keystones over there with the 3.5 in it?
I don't think I've got the Keystones over there because I actually gave that one away. I forget who I gave it to, but we ran out of that one. But this is great because you can use this for RS-232 and you can run it as far as you need it to go. Of course, within the length limitations of RS-232.
Yeah, and one of the nice things, because RS-232 is only 3 wires typically for send and receive, and you can get away with just 2.
Yep.
We've used a lot of different things. I've used S-video cables for serial.
Yeah.
I've used RCA cables for serial.
Yep.
I've used coax for serial. I've even used 4-conductor speaker wire
Yeah.
for serial.
Well, it's because it's super basic. It doesn't need any, you're not sending, video transmission or anything like that.
And
So.
on that note, let's talk about troubleshooting. Yes.
Mike is saying, he says, if it works when you plug it in, it'll just keep on working.
Yes.
And he says, logging in Crestron or Control 4 to troubleshoot is the benefit to IP.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can also, let's say if you can also log in and do serial testing over a Toolbox on Crestron.
Oh, interesting. Randall's saying, hang on to your old laptops that have serial or a USB to serial adapter, which is what this is here.
I much prefer real serial jack to the USBs.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's a slower speed unit.
Yep.
The guys that remember Vantage, the old Q, if you had to do a firmware update in the early days with the serial to USB adapters, you would tank the control module, just brick it.
Yeah.
Because it would delete everything, but the Vantage could not run fast enough in their program to properly support the USB section. So you
had
would
to get a specialized piece in order to make that work. Ask me how I know this.
On a Friday, I went to do an update at the owner's house.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'd like to change this and this.
Friday at like 3:30,
well,
right?
No, it was Friday morning.
Okay.
Friday morning.
All right.
And I had to do a firmware update because I had updated the version of the computer.
I blame you for doing a firmware update on a Friday.
Well, I learned my lesson.
Who does
only an idiot.
That was a newbie.
Only an idiot. And I learned my lesson, but it tanked. I suddenly had no light control in the house. And it's Friday. So, and I called Vantage, like, oh yeah, you can't use the USB adapters.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah, it'd be
What
nice
now?
if I knew that. So I had to call here, and MIS dug me up an old laptop.
Yep.
Then I had to come down here, connect it hardwired to the network to download the Vantage software to move the,
Yep.
In fact, it wasn't a laptop. I did this with a desktop.
Oh, you actually had to set up a whole
I had to
desktop
set up a
setup in order to
desktop.
see
Now,
it.
it gets better, because this was on a building outside the building. It was in a little AC hut hanging off the side of a wall.
Yep.
You talk about panic.
Yeah.
That was my last Friday programming change. Forget firmware updates. I don't even do programming changes on a Friday. Just because poo-poo happens.
Yep. Yes, it does.
And it seems to happen a lot on a Friday.
All right. We're getting close to
Now,
running out of time.
Let's talk about a little bit more troubleshooting.
Yes.
If you have a tone wand
Yes.
and you're worried that you might have a damaged cable,
Yeah.
you can run that toner wand along the cable,
Yeah.
and you can hear it going, it sounds like a fax machine.
Yep.
And you can hear that break
Yeah.
with the toner wand.
Well, because you'll hear it along the entire
It'll
way, but
change.
when it gets louder, you know
Or-
that
or it changes,
or
or it
changes
drops.
overall. You know you're over a breaking
Yep.
point in that.
By the way, it's also good for, I had to hunt down a broken speaker wire Monday night
Yeah.
in my backyard.
Yep, that would do it.
Thank
Yep.
God for toner wands.
Yeah, toner ones are great. Probably one of the best troubleshooting tool I've
Then
ever
a
had.
voltometer.
Yeah.
By the way, guys,
Get a voltometer.
yeah.
Get the ones that have both built into it. Those are out there.
Yeah, get a digital one.
Mike says it's a company rule, no firmware updates after 12 p.m. on a Friday.
Not on any Friday period, in my opinion.
Yeah, Friday period. Yeah. All right. So voltometer, you can, if you know what the voltage swings are supposed to be, you can pick those up. If, of course, again, if you know what the pinouts are, you can pick those
2, 3,
up.
5.
And then if you need to find out if you've got a broken cable, send a bunch of commands and just kind of walk along it.
CTS and RTS were 7 and 9, as I recall. But it's been legitimately 20 plus years.
Got it. And other than that, so long as you have the correct command structure for whatever it is you're trying to command, again, I go back to when it comes to serial, and that's the nice thing about serial is just the simplicity of it. Is if it's not working, it's usually only a few things. It's either something's come unplugged, something's broken, or you're sending the wrong
When
command.
it comes back, did it ever work?
Yeah.
If it ever worked,
Yep.
it's a hardware problem.
Yep.
I mean, meaning a cable or something. If it never worked, it's probably a setup problem.
Right. Yep.
Probably.
Probably.
I mean, it's really pretty much that simple.
Yeah, pretty much. And so long as you've got some way to check those things, you're good to go.
It's a whole lot easier for me to deal with serial than IP because, and again, to repeat that we've had addresses changed for no known reason.
Yeah, it happens. We've gone through and set a static IP address, reservation, everything we could possibly do, but this thing just for whatever reason just decides, nope,
I'm going to go do
whatever we want to do. Yeah. All right, Brent, I think we're at...
guys, thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
And
no, thank you, guys.
If you have any other ideas, suggestions, we do share these online.
Yeah.
By the way, the macaroons, that is 460 Walker Street, Holly Hill, Florida 32117.
Yes.
It's Brent, McCall. Ignore.
Thank you for watching all the way from Paris. It's wonderful to hear our international
Yeah, and
viewers.
I know it's late at night for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, it's
there's
what,
7
8 hours?
hours.
Is it 7 or 8 hours?
7 or 8 hours. Yeah.
Man, it's
Thank
11
you.
o'clock over there at that point. So yes, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you all have anything to talk about with whatever we talked about today, or anything that's AV related, or if you just want to say hi, we are happy to talk to you about that. You can leave it down in the comment section below if you're watching this after the fact, or in the next 10 seconds. You can put it over here in the chat section as well.
One last question.
Yeah.
What about that Bitcoin?
What about that Bitcoin? We're moving on. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We'll see y'all next time.
Wait. Tell them about our new set.
Oh yeah, we didn't get any comments on it. What do you guys think? We have new lights.
New lighting.
There's no good way to really show you, but
That's the difference.
That is the difference.
Today and what it usually is.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty great. New lights. It looks, we think it looks great. Let us know what you guys think about it. We got the LEDs around the TV and behind the rack and everything like that, so we get some depth. So I'm not in a black hole over here or anything like that. And Brent, actually has some skin tone.
Well, it doesn't hurt that I have spent the last 4 nights with the top down in the Miata in the sunshine.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing is natural tan.
Well, it's natural tan, but also the fact that, you know, yeah, because your white hair just blows out all the time anyways on camera. So anyways, all that to say. Reboot often?
Reboot
Yeah.
early.
Reboot often.
early. Turn off CEC.
Don't get your wires too short.
Call tech support.
Call tech support.
I'm Brent.
I'm Adam.
We're out of here.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
y'all. I don't know what's happening. There it goes. All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next time.